So much is going on.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the StompBox situation. We've got Austin doing an in-house Alabama Shakes cover for an audience of 2. The crowd went wild after that one.
Yeah.
As always, my name's Ian.
And my name is Austin.
And today, what do we have today for them?
Today we are going to be doing the Big Sky from Strymon.
And what we just learned about Strymon, which was so cool to us, is that they were born just a town over, Westlake Village.
Mm-hmm.
We're in Newbury Park, which is considered part of Thousand Oaks, which is right next to Westlake. But the coolest part about that is just that it's a local company, and they've grown to be
Homegrown.
Homegrown. Literally. They're homegrown, and they're one of the most influential pedal companies today, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
The Big Sky is a beautiful Reverb stomp box. Really, it has 3 stomps on one massive box.
The color of the Big Sky looks like Reverb.
Yes, it is the color of Reverb,
what I
literally.
mean.
If Big Sky was a color, it would be considered Big Sky Blue.
Yeah.
It really is the color of like a perfect teal blue sky.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a stomp, a B stomp, and a C stomp.
Mm-hmm.
12 different reverb banks to select from, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Austin, do you want to run us through some of these, what these stomps and some of these knob combinations do?
I would love to. So, like Ian was saying, it has 3 stomps, A through C. And if you hit the bottom left 2 stomps, not bottom, far left 2 stomps at the same time, you're going to bank down. And if you hit the 2 right at the same time, you're going to bank up. So you can save presets. So if you want to go in between songs or through a song in different reverb types, you know, like maybe your chorus is more wet.
Yep, exactly. That way, if you have a gig, you know, you can have your songs preloaded and your reverbs worked out before you're even at the gig. That way, there's no fussing, there's no recreating, there's no taping your pedal.
Yeah.
With like arrows to let you know where to go.
Mm-hmm. And the Big Sky also has MIDI in, so you could send a MIDI signal to it. So if you have a pedal switcher or looper that sends MIDI, you also control it that way, which is super useful because if you're going through presets of a song, you know, you want to turn 5 on, 3 off, change to your reverb.
Yeah, it's a perfect feature. Like one of the things you and I have talked about before with the Big Sky is like whether you're in the studio or you're touring or like just literally doing a local gig at a coffee shop, whatever it may be, it needs small or large. It's going to be a super useful pedal.
Mm-hmm.
And really, you could use it on vocals. You could use it on a drum kit. I really think this is, as far as a musician's toolkit, one of the best reverb pedals out there. Mm-hmm. And I don't even own it. So that's just coming from someone who doesn't even own one. And they think it's one of the best reverb boxes out there. I think it's because of the versatility for me. I don't know, Austin, why don't you share a little bit what you like about this pedal since you are the owner of it?
It's just a freaking monster, man. It's a huge pedal. I've had it for about 2 years now, and I've really only gone through like 3 different types of reverb. And then I find a setting, I'm like, oh shit, this setting's fucking badass, you know? And then I put it on everything. Like I'll put it on like a whole record, or if I do session stuff, I'll just put that reverb on. And it's really just a plate, or it's just a large hall.
That's awesome. That is
kind of thing.
Yeah, that's...
And the cool thing is the parameters change on a reverb by reverb basis. So you can really get a lot of different tones throughout the different types.
So essentially you can alter or modify certain aspects of the reverb according to your needs.
That's the fucking best way to say that. The parameters are customizable.
Well, you know what? Sometimes sometimes words are like art.
I'm trying to make it all artsy.
Like, flowery.
Yes. You know,
The Big Sky by Strymon. Here at NPR Radio, we talk about environmental issues and customizable knobs. Customizable parameters.
You did so much better than I do.
It's because it's like somebody I've actually heard before on the radio.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
really?
Like, I think that's how you do the best impressions. You've heard someone who literally sounds like that, right? So there is a guy on NPR. I don't know his name, but he sounds like.
Hello, today we're covering hunger in South Africa.
All right, enough ripping on
Yeah.
NPR.
Sorry, NPR. But moving to the face layout of the Big Sky, it does have those 3-foot switches. It has some knobs on it. What is that? Total of 2, 4, 9. One of them controls the type of reverb. The other one is a value knob. So that's where you would save the reverb setting that you did, or you can go through the settings, like deep settings of the reverb.
Yeah,
itself.
so when you engage that
yeah,
value knob by clicking it down, right?
you click it down and then
Yeah.
you turn it, and then that's a rotary encoder. So when you turn it, you just go through the
That's
settings
awesome.
of the reverb. You can change the name through there, that kind of stuff. And then you have a tone knob, tone for days, the 2 parameter knobs, a modulation that modulates the reverb, a mix knob, pre-delay, and a decay. And then on the back of the pedal, you have a cab filter switch that you can engage if you run your guitar tone DI and just want to get the sound of going through, your amp. You don't want that super glassy sound. You want to try to avoid that kind of thing. So say you just run to the PA in the house. That's where you engage the cab filter.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great feature, right? Again, for somebody who might find themselves in multiple music settings and a changing variety of music settings too, because the reality is most musicians do not make their income in one place. So
Yes.
it's very, very versatile and in its own way, although it's a large pedal, it's very...
It's a big boy.
Yeah, it's very travelable, movable, right? Like you see a lot of guys nowadays, just have like a timeline, a Big Sky, and a couple other pedals, like a couple ODs or maybe even a buffer. And
There's also a buffer in the Big Sky.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and also a spillover function. So if you want to switch in between reverbs, say you want to hit a spring and then in the chorus you want to hit a large hall, you could do that and then you would get trails.
It's an awesome design, and it offers so much. Again, you see a lot of guys nowadays with these minimalist pedal boards where they've only got the Big Sky, maybe a timeline, and maybe 3 other pedals that make their sound happen and their rig happen. And I feel like for the gigging musician, the traveling musician, somebody who plays behind bands,
Yeah.
to be able to capture that many sounds in one pedal, I think is crucial.
Yeah. I mean, the negative side of it is it's a pretty penny.
Yeah, I was going to
It's
say,
pretty
let's
expensive.
talk a little bit about the cons, right?
Yeah. The cons would be
Affordability.
for sure.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of power. I believe it's 350 milliamps. Mm-hmm. So it's a big boy.
It's big. I mean, it's the size of probably 2.5 standard Boss pedals, or like 2 1/4. And so if you're pressed for space and you can get the job done with a smaller reverb, a lot of people use like mini Hall of Fames, other things like that.
Yeah.
You might argue that it's not worth it, especially with coming in at, is it like 250 retail or
For what?
Big Sky?
The Big
Was it
Sky?
3?
It's like 500.
No, that's I didn't even know that. That's fucking crazy.
It's an investment, man. But you know what you're getting, though. You're buying a really reliable pedal.
$500, you're paying for what you get, for sure. But I think, are you also paying for the name, and are you also paying for some of the boutique pedal trend? What would you say? Or is
maybe.
that all that 500 the time and energy it took them to put that pedal together and then to manufacture
I
it?
think so, because there's a lot of cool shit you can do in there. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of... Like, without that pedal... I mean, at least I can speak for myself. Without that pedal, I wouldn't have been inspired to write a lot of the music that I have. And to me, that's worth $500.
That's it's a big point. An excellent point.
Okay, so we're on Well, I'm on LaCroix number 1. So by the end of this, I'm hoping to get LaCroix number 3.
That's a crazy session.
Yeah,
if
I'm
Austin
ready.
gets to LaCroix number 3, that's when weird stuff starts to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's when he starts throwing bottles,
That's when we get weird.
breaking guitar necks. Today, we're running a 2016 ES 339 USA made into a Vox AC15. So here's a clean tone.
Before we get the clean tone going, I need to clear something up with Ian.
We're gonna clear the air. You lied.
I saw John Mayer without Ian.
That's
Sorry.
That's why the divorce rate's over 50% in California. People do stuff like that. Like,
Okay. StompBox situation update. I saw his pedal board.
oh,
Yep. I'm sorry I didn't take pictures, everybody.
That would have been so
But-
sweet.
Guess what reverb he was using?
Not a big sky.
The Blue Sky.
The blue sky. Ooh, I
Yeah.
like that. Because he's
blue sky.
thinking, I don't need a big sky. He's probably thinking I could have a whole drawer of reverbs
Yeah.
in my stand in the back. But
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
What? So he was running a simple pedal board. Then he wasn't using his cabinet. that
He wasn't,
tours
no.
with.
Yeah, he was doing the pedal switches himself, too. So at the show, it was just him.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have his band with him, so he was looping himself, and he was doing samples on his computer. But yeah, the board was him, and he was operating the board himself.
Did you get the chance to catch any other pedals? See any other pedals?
I saw the Flint. I saw the Mini Moog Drive.
Yeah,
that was called?
the
Yeah.
new Moog ones. Like,
It's black.
yep.
Black and silver. The Blue Sky. That's really all I remember. It was, it was a pretty minimal board.
Yeah, it's cool when you get that chance to look at a player's board and see, especially if he's one of your favorite players or someone's sound you really like, to get a sense of like what they might be using. Because I know I've seen some shows at times and wondered how they were producing a certain sound. I just couldn't pin it. And then you see the pedal board and you're like, oh, duh. It's coming all from that one, right?
Guess what amp he was going through?
Was it his PRS custom one?
No, the J Mod.
No, yeah, the J
Yeah,
Mod.
not the J Mod. No. Think
Fender?
combo.
He was using a Fender head, right? Oh, his 2-Rock?
No, it was no John Mayer signature mod. It was a '65 reissue Princeton.
Just the Princeton.
Well,
one.
okay, so he had one Princeton, and then the other amp was a deluxe
So he's doing deluxe Princeton stereo. You think?
stereo. Yeah.
That must have sounded really nice.
Oh yeah,
I mean, of course, it's
John Mayer. Anyways, this is my clean tone.
Now we're going to dip into some wetness here.
Fuck.
Damn. So this is with a pre-delay and a decay that are very low, probably at about 25%, both of them. And the mix itself is probably like 30%, slightly more. We've got the tone at 50, as we do also with parameter 1, and then parameter 2 is probably about 60-70%, with a modulation at about 65% too. And I'm going to kill this modulation right now just to give you guys an idea of what it sounds like with and without it. So we've got parameter 2 and the modulation at about 0. And later we'll add the modulation again to give you guys an idea of what that sounds like.
See, that's why the Big Sky is fucking awesome. Because I can't really play the guitar. I can't rip. I'm not a ripper. I'm a low and slow,
You're going for vibes, right?
I'm going for vibes. I'm definitely not a ripping guy.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It can be a utility because I think there's a lot of music like, coming from someone like yourself that is less about maybe the technicality of the guitar playing, although some of the stuff that you do is really beautiful and technical in itself. I think, like you're saying, it's like you can move into a place where you're thinking more about a textural palette rather than, what scale you're playing or what chord you're playing. And I think it opens the door, right, to, like you're saying, like you said earlier even, to be inspired to write maybe even music you've never heard of before or thought of before. And I think that did in some ways happen, right? Like you were saying with your album. Like you probably would not written that album had it not been with the Big Sky, right?
Yeah.
So what you just heard was the Bloom reverb. And that's giving you an idea of the wet signal going through the Big Sky. And as you heard when I ran through all the knobs, it's a very little amount of reverb. And it still sounds so big and luscious. You can only imagine where it could go from there. And so we're going to switch over to the plate reverb and start there. And we're going to work our way through this tank or through the 12 different tanks with you guys. So Austin is going to be playing us through each of these tanks. So if you hear something you like, give him a shout out. And as always, if you don't like it, definitely give him a shout out also. So Austin's adjusting these knobs here. He's adjusting us to a place where we've got our decay at, probably about 35%. We've got a pre-delay.
That's going to be about
60.
a second of reverb. It's very
very, very close to being dry, but it's still wet. Nice. Little James Brown. And our mix is at 25%. We're going to keep our tone at 50, our parameter 1 at 50, and we've got parameter 2 and our modulation at 0.
extremely small. It's just a little thing behind it.
Just adds that little bit of tone, right? If you just want a taste of tone.
The taste of tone.
The taste of tone. So we're gonna alter these knobs a little, so we're gonna get much more.
We'll get bigger.
Yeah, much more big.
So the
sound.
second parameter knob on the plate setting is going to control a small plate or a large plate. So we're going to switch that over to a large plate. We're going to keep the pre-delay all the way down, just so you guys get the sense of that. We'll mess with that later. And then turn the decay up a little bit and turn the mix up. Get huge.
This is more like 2 seconds delay, right?
Yeah.
Still small, but much bigger in a way where it's like it adds this new layer of texture, right? that wasn't really quite present in a 1 second delay on the reverb.
Yeah.
I say we just keep getting bigger with it, right?
Let's get big. So, what we got on this guy is a very large decay. I brought the mix up to about 50, and I turned the pre-delay up just a little bit just to kind of let the guitar go through before the reverb comes in. What else did I do? I turned the low end up a little bit, and I rolled the tone back a little.
Deliciously long.
It's beautiful.
That is a nice one for sure. Right now, Austin is using the value knob to scroll through the different parameters that you're allowed to adjust with the plate. But with the plate, it's really just...
Really, it's just size. You could boost on a preset by preset basis in tone, modulation. Mm-hmm. Really, the stuff you could do on the other reverbs, but what makes this one different is the changing of the plate size.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we take you to a place where it's a little bit weird? Maybe play with adding on some pre-delay and some modulation, just to give people an idea of a plate with that comboed.
Let's full crank that modulation.
We got the modulation on 100%. And that pre-delay at like 45%.
I'm just going to do a slap so you guys can hear the reverb.
Dripping wet. Dripping. And that's a plate.
It's amazing.
Right? I mean, if you think about some of the more wet offerings on this pedal, that plate already sounds amazing, and we haven't even gone through.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Choices
I've had this for 2 years, and it's like I've really only gone to hull, plate, and spring.
I understand completely.
Because it sounds good, and I'm like, oh, that sounds good. I'll just keep it on here and put on everything.
I think this is where the value really catches up, right? It's like you're spending $500, but you could probably spend years discovering different tones you can pull out of this box. And so, and you could spend that time, exploring it too, which it can be hours of fun, as we all know, with, by yourself or just with a friend, to tone hunt. It can be a very fun thing, especially with a pedal of this caliber. I think now what we're going to do, that you guys have an idea of the plate reverb, is move on.
Sounds good to me.
And move on to what? Let's do a hall reverb next.
Yeah.
Since it's right there next to our plate. So we'll give you an idea of a dry signal again really quickly, just to give you a little tone or a tone palette cleanser, if you will. And then we're going to hit you with just a small amount of hall reverb. Dry tone.
Dry tone. This is going to be the arena setting. So what I think the difference is on this one is the attack of the reverb comes in a lot quicker and the decay is a lot shorter. It's more of a versus.
Let's give him an idea of, since we're on arena, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just do a like a large arena.
Yeah.
Give him an idea of like what it would sound like super open, and then we could go to a large concert hall for everybody too, right? It's Austin killing it over here on guitar and pedal today.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome, bro.
That's a huge... It's a big decay. It's one of those things where you definitely get lost in right when you start playing.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yes. Yeah. Instantly establishes a feel of ambiance.
Yeah.
And that could be for anybody, right? Whether you know only an E chord,
Mm-hmm.
an E major chord, or you know...
Which is me.
Which is Austin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he only knows one major shape.
I played 2 different keys so far. I'm tempted to whip out a capo.
Just put the cape on,
Yeah.
play the same stuff up the neck.
Fuck it.
But whether you know only an E chord, or you know...
One lick.
or you know how to play a whole box song on your guitar. I mean, you can instantly add ambiance and vibe and space and headroom and texture. Maybe all of those words mean the same thing in a lot of ways, but you know, you can achieve a lot with very little. So we're going to switch to the concert setting now, and Austin is going to play a little bit for us, and you're going to get an idea of what a large concert is going to sound like.
Same settings. Just concert.
Yeah, so you can hear, if you're really listening closely and you have and you're interested in listening for these things, you can hear how the echo, the trail runs out way more
Yeah.
than the arena, right? Like the arena,
It's a lot more open.
Yeah, it dies at some point. This has so much
Yeah.
more headroom. It sounds almost like it's shooting down a hallway, literally, and just you can hear it almost infinitely go and then die out. Where the arena almost sounds like eventually it's hitting some sort of wall, something that's ending the trail.
Yeah. It's a very clean decay.
Incredible job, really, when you think about the emulation on that one. That really sounds like you're hearing someone like toss a rock down like a long like mine shaft. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try and play the same thing. Unfortunately, I didn't really think about what I was playing, but we'll see. Just so you guys can hear the difference between the arena and the concert, right?
Yeah, so large arena to large concert.
completely different lick and rhythm, but you guys get the feel of it. And I feel like playing through this reverb setting, or the concert versus the arena, your initial sound is a lot more focused. Like the reverb, when the reverb comes in, it's much more aggressive. But this one you can kind of play, even though you have that long tail.
I see what you mean.
You can still play and not be drowned out by the reverb.
Yeah, it's not... I always use the word splash or crash. But it's not like crashing into the reverb before the note itself has even come out. Because there's some settings where it's like the reverb is almost like hitting before the note even comes, right?
The big sky knows.
So next, I think we're going to add a little bit of modulation.
Yeah, sure.
And pre-decay, just to give people, or pre-delay, just to give people an idea of how those modulate the reverb sound. Because they're not always necessary or important, but they definitely will serve their purpose as far as like you designing or discovering your own
Exactly. Yeah,
tones.
totally. You definitely hear the modulation on that. Wow, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And it doesn't completely have the same drip it has on some of the other reverb settings, but you can still really hear the way it adds that sort of vocal aspect almost, right? Where it's like wow, 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 almost a little bit of a pulsing style to it. Nice. So we have Austin switching the Big Sky over to a nice, crispy spring reverb.
Crispy spring.
My personal favorite, not necessarily specifically to this pedal, just in general, my personal favorite. I love spring reverb, but it's going to be sounding wonderful. And so let's switch it up. Let's come in hard on the spring reverb, like heavy spring reverb, and then we'll dial it back. So let me just cut the mod and the pre-delay for you.
Yeah. And while Ian is doing that, the spring reverb has a couple different settings that you can do on this. So the second parameter knob is going to control the different types of spring reverb. So you're going to have a combo, tube, overdrive, and clean. So we're going to start on, what do you think? What do you want to start on?
Let's do clean.
Let's go
Just
clean.
Give him an idea, and then I, as always, we'll kick it up from there, right?
Yeah. This is going to be the combo one. I'm going to play the same stuff. If you guys like John Mayer, you're in for a super treat. If you hate him, just bear with us for like 40 seconds.
You're in for a hate biscuit.
This one's going to be tube. And this one is going to be overdrive, or overdriven, whichever one you prefer.
There's that filthy sort of metal
Nasty
sound that it adds in there. Filthy in, I guess, a good way, but But it's interesting how that, it really adds that that industrial sound.
Yeah.
Like you're in a warehouse, right? And there's like construction going on outside of it.
My favorite was Tube.
I also agree.
But not to say that they are all pretty badass in their own way.
Definitely. And there are things that I don't like that other people do. And I think that's an important thing with music to always remember, right? Like that sometimes the feature isn't always about everybody liking it, but I think sometimes it's just about offering variety to the user. So I know that there is somebody out there who I'm willing to bet prefers that to, the other settings on this pedal. But
I mean, that's everything for the spring. Do you want to move on to the next one?
yeah, I think so. I think spring's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
So next one we're moving to is Swell, which is a really special one in the sense that if you don't own a volume pedal or you're working with limited space on your pedal board, which is also another reasonable scenario, whatever it may be, the Swell gives you this volume swell effect that you can modulate a little bit yourself using the controls on the Strymon. And it's nice because if you're at a gig where you don't have that pedal, you can add those swell textures to your playing.
Yeah.
And it makes it much more simple. Or as Austin said to me, you can step away from your board, even if you have a volume pedal, and get the same swell effect without having to screw around or tap dance, which some people hate doing when they play.
Yeah. So on the swell setting, you could do a couple different things. You can have the reverb swell, or you can have your guitar signal swell. So right now we're going to set it to have the reverb swell up.
Yeah, so that radiance
Yeah.
really just
It's hard to hear
opens
it
up toward the end.
until you start to hear the dissonance
Yes.
right there. When you hear the reverb come in, you hear all the dissonance between the notes.
Yeah, that actually is even a better word. It's because it's dissonant and it's radiant, but it's really the radiance is almost made because of the dissonance, right? Like this feeling of like this humming.
Yeah.
But that's cool because, if you're not volume swelling, you can add a certain effect to your reverb, and I think a minimal effect too. So it doesn't really drench your playing, and especially the front end, if you're keeping it pretty short, you're not going to hear that reverb completely come to fruition. So you switch the swell now, right?
I switched the swell, so now it's going to swell up the dry signal.
Cool thing here is you can really dial in that timing of the swell and you can produce wonderful backing or underscoring.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's a singer-songwriter or even just some ambient music. Hell, I'm sure you could even use it in the right metal band.
I do have to say the swells on this
not your favorite.
they're okay.
Yeah, compared to, it's never going to be as good as doing it with your foot, I think.
Yeah.
Because with your foot, you have that fine control.
You got that, yeah, totally. What are you thinking? It's like driving an automatic or a stick. But you can hear the choke when you go in for that other one.
Yeah, there's like this refractory period that isn't so sexy.
Not so sexy. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's such a dip.
Yeah. It's almost, it would be more distracting.
Yeah, and although you can alter it, I think it's got a certain specificity to the swell speed. or the style of swell, which is like a large swell. It's going from like, I feel like if you were on a pedal virtually completely off to completely on. And we all know sometimes you just want to hover under being barely audible and then swell in. And it's a different style of swell, right?
Yeah.
So maybe the only con with that one, right?
Yeah, I would say so. We found the first con.
Damn it, Damn. You guys were so good until now. We got to stop the podcast. No, seriously, it's an incredible device, but we feel at liberty or even responsible for sharing pros and cons.
Yeah.
Because, you know, although we generally love all the pedals we test and try, you know, we want to be fair and unbiased and present what you might find as a real con if you were to play this as a player. And so, you know, we're not trying to witch hunt anybody, but we are going to share some of the cons at times in our podcast. And we hope you guys understand why.
You can send all hate mail to Sonic Garage Elixirs. He is open to all sorts of mailing. You can DM him. Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You could.
We're having some mics falling over right now.
I got a mic falling on me.
He's not liking that. There it is.
I'm not designed to sit at a mic. There's something about me. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we good?
So let's move on to the Bloom.
Yes. So the Bloom is another very special one.
Mm-hmm. So the Bloom is going to be something similar to a Hall, in my opinion. I'm probably totally butchering it. But the envelope of it, the attack is going to swell up. So you'll guys hear it. You'll hear my initial guitar signal go through, and then you'll hear this really fast, almost fade in of the reverb. Yes, so the first parameter is going to alter the low end, and the second one is going to alter the length of the bloom, so how fast the attack is.
Got the mix and the decay, both at about 40%.
Mm-hmm.
So not very much. Get the pre-delay at 0, modulation at 0.
0.
And we've got the length at about half length that you can select. And you will hear the bloom. So you'll definitely hear it.
You could hear it there. Bum.
Yeah, totally. The bloom reverb literally works as it's described.
Yeah, it blooms.
It blooms. It opens up slowly. And then at the very end, you've got this very full open reverb. So, essentially, it's filtering, kind of putting an envelope on the reverb a little bit, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So now I'm going to crank the bloom settings up. So it's going to be a long bloom with the mix at 60% and the decay at about 60 also. We cranked up the parameter 2 to about 70, almost 75% here. And we're keeping parameter 1, which is alteration of the low end, just at 0, no altering on the low end. We haven't bumped it or upped it at all. So here we go.
The cool thing about this reverb is it allows you to go through, allows you to cut in the mix, and then the reverb comes up. But the downfall of that is it's almost another, I guess, instrument.
Yes, I do know what you mean. Because rhythmically, it'll add something. And you
will.
have to be careful of that, right? Like, especially, like on this type of thing with the pre delay, you have to be careful playing with it because you can easily start to cross over into like a dissonant territory where you add some dissonance to the music you're playing because it's either out of rhythm or the time's just slightly delayed on your bloom. So I agree with you on that. It is like managing another instrument in some ways. But the benefit is you can get that sort of pulsating effect, that blooming effect, the sort of swelling effect without it actually being a volume swell. But I don't know that I personally would find a lot of use for a bloom, but I'm only saying that without having a big sky. So who knows? You know, if you figured out a way to use the bloom in a unique way, take a video.
I use the bloom a lot.
You use the bloom a lot.
A lot.
Austin's going to show us here how to use the bloom in action because he says he uses it all.
I use it a lot. Yes, I use it on a Western Water song, which is one of the bands that I play in. I guess the only band that I play in. This is how I use it. So it's on the intro of Go.
Nice. So you get, I see. So you're really highlighting your dry signal that comes in, right? Like you really get to hear what's being played.
Because what I wanted to happen is I wanted people to hear the accents.
Yeah,
you
so
know,
that's where it really is beneficial, right? Because you might want reverb, but you don't want it loud enough where you kill those tonal things that you get from like hearing your fingers on the string, right?
Yeah, and the also plus side is I wanted to go through the ba-da-da-da-ba, and when I hit the ba, I want the reverb to come in. To push the sound a little bit. So it's kind of like the majority of the reverb is going to
it's like
come
an
in
exclamation
there,
point
and it's
a little
saying,
bit, right?
As a volume-wise, the intro kind of, it's there, and then ba-dun-dun, and then on that one, pushes sound a little bit more.
Yeah, it gives this rising and falling feeling too, right? That there's this climb and this opening, and then it kind of comes back. And I would almost describe it as you can get sort of like a pulsating effect to the reverb, where it's like swells and comes back and swells and comes back.
So that's what Ian was saying earlier. Is that you can use it as a rhythmic option as well. You know?
Yeah, and if like if you're someone like Austin, and there's something he's really good at that I've never developed because I've never tried it or it's never been in my style of playing, but you can develop a lot of unique textural and I know I use that word a lot, by the way, but Austin creates a lot of texture and rhythmic aspects to his playing by using the Big Sky, where you can alter the parameters so it's perfectly in time with whatever signature you're playing in, or the innate feel of the music that you're playing, and it's
how you want it to pulsate.
Yes, exactly. And if you can really capture that, which I think you're somebody who does, it can be a whole nother tool in your toolbox as far as songwriting and playing. Again, it's something I've never developed, but if you spend the time working with a pedal like this, it surely a lot of avenues you can take.
Yeah.
Right?
So we're going to move from the bloom to the cloud setting. And this setting is basically what it sounds like. It creates a almost obnoxious amount of reverb, something that you could just fly on. So, Ian is setting the tone in right now. He is setting the tone knob at 50. The first parameter is going to control the low end. The second one is going to control the diffusion. We're setting low end, no cut, no boost, smack dab in the middle, 12 o'clock, and same thing for the diffusion. Diffusion is going to be at 50. No modulation. The mix is going to be as well 50. We're all about 50 over here. And the pre-delay is going to be at 0, and the decay is going to be around almost 2 seconds.
Yeah, and here, so when we say 50% too, just a reminder, we're meaning directly 12 o'clock, and so oftentimes the reason we do that, like with parameter 1 and 2, is because it'll keep it at 0 essentially, or it'll be no effect to the reverb. So just so you know, a reminder for our listeners.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful opening to a song.
Seriously, I like that one a lot. It's got a really good tone on it.
Yeah. So what I forgot to mention in the beginning is the Big Sky has an infinity option, where if you hold down one of the foot switches for the preset that you have on, it'll bring out the reverb to basically infinity.
You can use it if you're integrating sort of sonic landscapes and you want to add some texture over whatever you're about to play next, but it's not a sustain. It's not like a sustain pedal where you could, play one note and hold the pedal down for it to sustain like an E or an E chord so you can play over it. It's eventually going to have all these reverbs sort of splashing and crashing into each other, and it's eventually going to turn into this
pad.
Yes,
turns into
this
a pad.
Explosion of reverb.
So let's just give you guys an example of that. We changed from the cloud setting to a plate setting, something a little less abrasive and less aggressive.
Yeah, because the cloud's going to sort of crash into itself already.
Anyways, yeah. So we wanted to show you. We're going to bring it to a small plate, and then Ian's going to hold it down for us, and you'll just hear what happens to the reverb. That's it, though.
Yeah, so that gives you an idea. Mm-hmm. It's a very abrupt ending.
It's
super abrupt. So abrupt it kind of vacuums you out of the moment there for a second. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, we're going to move on.
Yeah, we're going to move to the choral setting.
Yes.
Choral? Chorale?
Choral.
We talked about this yesterday.
I think it's definitely choral.
Okay.
But if you had never read the pedal and somebody didn't know what a chorus was, they might go through the whole chorale thing.
Yeah, the whole choral, chorale, flanger, flanger, pacer, phaser.
The reverb of a horse chorale.
Okay.
So dumb yesterday. That's so funny though. Because I just imagine a horse chorale. That's open wind.
Yeah, it's just an open window.
There is no reverb. So yeah, we're on the choral setting. Mm-hmm. Austin, what does that exactly mean in the context of the Big Sky?
It's just going to have a vocal sounding reverb. So you can change from oohs to ahs to ooh ah, ah oohs, that kind of stuff. See here, this is a... It's a ooh.
Yeah, and on this setting, so the parameter 1's going to give you access to different vowel shapes or sounds, sort of vocal sounds. Mm-hmm. We'll run through those with you guys. And then the parameter 2, you're able to adjust the resolution, and it allows you to choose mild, medium, or high. Mm-hmm. And right now we're going to keep it on mild. And everything else, the modulation, we have at 0. The pre-delay, we have at 0. Mix, again, a 50%.
Mm-hmm. Tone at 50.
Tone also at 50.
12 o'clock.
Or 12 noon.
Whichever one works for you.
And we also have the decay at 50% as well. And so this is going to give you a very light taste of the choral verb. And then on parameter 1, and we're going to work our way from the left to the right. So this is all the way over to the left with parameter 1.
It's going to give us a ah-ooh kind of reverb. So you'll hear it. And then once we go all the way to the right, it's going to give us a random selection between all of them. But you'll guys hear everything in between it.
Exactly.
And this one is going to just be an ah. next one is going to be an ah-oh, not to be confused with the ahoo. All right, now we're going to go to the O. It's going to be an OH. O. O.
Or is it because there's no other H's, right? So is that a hard end?
That's the question of the day. Is OH or O?
Yeah, that is. Question of the day.
Yeah.
Addition to the question of the day.
Mm-hmm.
This would be, if you're interested in sharing a video of yourself, share us a video of you vocalizing these different choral sounds with your voice, these different, mouth shapes, and tag us. That'd be a great extension to the question of the day. I love that. That little out lick too sounds
the
pretty
little
cool, actually. I like that.
flat at fifth.
Yeah. I like that.
I guess that's chromatic, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the context you're using it in, right? Like, because a flat fifth, one place could be something different in another context, right? But
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I just like the sound of that. I think there's certain things that you can do without playing that sounds very in the box, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. So that was the reverb setting. We're going to move to the O. Not to be confused with the from earlier. This has 4 O's before the first H.
And then an HOH.
Oh.
Or ooh, oh.
And now we are going to hit the O's. Just a straight up O.
Straight up 4 O's.
Yeah.
Ooh. I guess ooh, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, I just have to say that I don't like that lick, but I played it on the first time, and we're so deep into this now that we can't go back.
We're committed.
We're committed to that lick. So if you're thinking, does Austin play like that? No, he just made one mistake, and he's just committing to that mistake.
Sometimes, folks, that's the true mark of being a professional. Is learning how to take your mistake and not change it, but just work with it.
We play it so much that it's in.
Or make it sound like it was no mistake at all. Like Bob Ross, In his painting lessons, he'd be like, "Oh, that's not a mistake.
That's
it's
a
bird
little
now."
tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it looks like a tree now. So now we're going to hit into the random. So it's just going to go, whatever
we're not
vowel
sure if
it
that
wants
selects one of those randomly or if it does a random combination of vowels. I imagine it does a random combination of those different sounds, right? rather than just picking randomly from the presets that you can already select from, right?
I think it randomly picks
From those presets.
from the vowels
Ooh, but like,
and moves them.
so like each reverb it's changing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. So let's hear that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is very subtle, and we could crank it a lot more for you, but that's not how people are really going to be using it. So just really listen closely to the differences and wind the podcast back if you want. That's why they have the little 15-second rewind button. It's made for a purpose. So close to just being super clean, but still sounded great, man. I blame the reverb.
We just went through the random ones, so now we're going to move on to the shimmer one. The cool thing about this one is you can choose the interval of what the shimmer is going to be. So you can go to the major third, minor third, major second, or hell, the minor second.
Oh.
And all you music cats out there are probably thinking, does he even know what that is? I was just playing this lick for about 20 minutes. Anyways,
no comment.
No comment. let's get into this one. So, what we're going to do is work our way over from the far left on the first parameter, which is going to give us a full octave down. And the thing I forgot to mention is that you can turn off the second parameter, which would give you another reverb effect.
Yeah, so the second parameter has similar options or the same options as the first one, but it's just going to be on top of the first one. So right now we have that turned off, and we'll show you guys what that is like when you have both of them engaged. We're going to leave the modulation at 0, like we have been, because that's something you can play with on your own. We're going to leave the tone at 50%, decay at 50%, and mix at about 50% too. We're going to keep that pre-delay off. I'm going to get down there, and I'm going to switch Austin through these parameters. So I'm going to start on the far left with the octave parameter, and Austin's going to call these out as I switch them. Right now, Austin is currently playing with the octave parameter on. Can you hear that octave in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's do it.
This is the full octave down one. Now we're going to move up to the major seventh, but it's going to be an octave down. Oh. Oh,
It's literally spooky as shit.
yeah, it's spooky as hell.
I love it though, because it doesn't really belong in most areas. You'd have to use it incredibly thoughtfully.
Yeah. My God. Okay, well that's an octave down major seventh. It's kind of gnarly.
It is kind of gnarly
pretty
for
gnarly.
sure. Okay, so the next one we're doing is a minor seventh, and this is, again, octave down, or well, not an octave down, but it's below the note you're playing, not above pitch-wise. Also very spooky. Yeah, very dissonant too.
And then we're going to go to the major sixth.
To learn how to very thoughtfully use this. And I know some people out there who already have maybe a more fluid work, like a fluid understanding of music theory, probably could sort of compute it on the go.
Harmonize with the reverb itself kind of thing. And I could see using this on something like a synth, where you want to just detune the synth a little bit to add a little bit more body and spaciousness to it, but just not having the reverb so loud on it. A similar effect as you would with a chorus.
Yeah, exactly. So I think either with the right knowledge or the right practice, you could get a lot out of this setting, specifically as far as harmony.
Yeah.
And adding a thickness to your sound. So like if you're playing alone.
Mm-hmm. So
we've all been in the scenario where you're playing along with a singer-songwriter and you're looking for different things to do rather than just underscore them using the same voicings that they're doing. And so if you got really skilled with this, or you had an innate talent or a knowledgeability with music theory, you could harmonize really easily.
Mm-hmm.
Be very useful. But so we're going to move to the minor 6.
I love it.
And we're going to hear how spooky that sounds.
To be honest, I have no idea what you would use this for.
Again,
I understand using an octave down, an octave up, and that kind of stuff, and then playing just to fill like an ambience, just doing soundscaping kind of things.
Absolutely.
But the whole like fucking minor 6 right now, how am I supposed to? So that was the minor 6. We're gonna move to what I'm gonna guess is the perfect 5th.
P5, yeah.
P5, ladies and gentlemen, P5.
Should sound a little more pleasant.
That's enjoyable.
Yeah, a lot of body there. Probably almost never going to have an issue with the perfect 5th. Might sound a little odd in certain spots, but generally really nice.
Yeah, that's nice. So we're going to go to
that's a
nice
one.
Yeah, that's a...
Sorry.
Just threw up in the microphone, everybody.
A little hairball. Hairball, I have cats, sorry. So this next one we have is going to give you a triad. Is it a triad?
I don't like it.
Is that a triad even?
I don't think it is, man.
Try. Tritonal. Try again.
Try again. Try a different reverb. Okay. fuck the triad. Let's move on to something else.
Yes. So let us know
Yeah.
what you think that is.
What was that?
Strymon, hit us up.
Looks like we got a
Perfect fourth.
perfect fourth. Does it kind of sound like Asian style music?
Yeah, I think you can definitely pull that out of like a pentatonic scale, but then I think having that fourth over the top of it had a very like string, a very like sort of like string quality to like a violin would play, like a harmony like that, and maybe play like you were kind of playing something sort of exotic, if you will, but like using
exotic as one must say,
a pentatonic and just using that harmony over the top of it. But that's an interesting one.
Yeah,
better than the last one.
Oh god,
Which I think is triad. It's bothering me, but it did not sound like that.
Yeah. Anyways, this is going to be a major third.
Below again, below. Self-explanatory. Sorry. I was like, I'm thinking like,
we're gonna go through all fucking 12 of these.
this is such a big pedal. Imagine
It's
if we were like
huge.
really, really getting
And
into
like
it.
the thing is, everybody's like, we're just scratching the surface of this thing.
yeah,
Like,
seriously.
we're not even changing the decay or the modulation or messing with the other parameter. We're literally just going through the interval.
Yeah, if we were finding it comical as we go to do this because it's so complex and we're trying to keep it
big.
as simple as we can as far as
Yep.
how we run through, because we figure things like modulation or pre-delay, you could get an idea of how that might sound even if we're not altering, and that's why we're trying to keep it as simple as possible. But like Austin said, we're only going to be scratching the surface when it comes to Big Sky. I mean, this is one setting we've been on now for at least 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah. And honestly, if you guys made it this far into this episode, you're pretty damn interested in the Big Sky.
You should just buy it
You
at
should
this point.
honestly just buy it at this point. You either are super interested in the Big Sky or you love Reverb. And if you do, I understand I love Reverb just as much as you do.
Yes.
It's
but
also
this is
the easiest thing to edit ever. For all you audio engineers out there and Pro Tools operators, Reverb is the best thing to edit.
Thank you for that pro tip, Austin.
Yes.
I like that. Should have little pro tips with Austin Day. We do a little 5-minute Instagram live, little pro tips with Austin. Hey guys, it's
Welcome to the Pro Tip.
yes. Add generic rock riff here. Super
Okay.
chill. Insert super chill guy here.
So that was what? What was that? I can't remember. Major second?
We just did a minor second, I think. Make sure.
That was...
So many options. Holy fuck.
That was the major second. I think everybody wants us to speed up this
Yeah,
one and just go to something practical. So do you just want to go to an octave up?
Yes, we're definitely going to
Let's
speed
just
this
do it.
up. We're going to do a little editing magic
Yeah.
right here. Okay, so I cranked it all the way up. We didn't want to bore you guys too much. We know some of that stuff can be boring. I switched us to 2 octaves above. Mm-hmm. So Austin's going to give us a little sound here, and this is where you're going to really hear the shimmer start to happen.
See, that's totally useful. I would totally use that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, completely useful.
Yeah.
And, these other ones, I'm sure a lot of you would agree are useful. But for the sake of our time and your guys' time, we're going to run through the ones we find that will actually be useful to everybody. So the next one we're going to go to is an octave above plus a fifth. Ooh. So it's really probably a lot more useful, especially when you're playing nice open chords, to add a lot more beef and texture behind everything. Almost like having little violins playing in the background. Really tiny violins.
Really tiny. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sounds string-like. Okay, so, and the last one we're going to do here is the perfect fifth above, just to give you guys an idea of what that's going to sound like. Try that really quick. So right now, what I just set on the pedal was parameter 1 being an octave below. And so this is where parameter 2 comes into play. Parameter 2 being a perfect fifth above. So again, if you've taken the time or you have knowledge, you can play around with these harmonies a lot. You can have a lot of fun looking through the different sonic palettes that this pedal offers. So Austin's going to give us a little play through of what that would sound like with a octave below and a perfect fifth above, just to give you an idea of some of the harmonies you can achieve. And then we're probably going to move on from this setting. So you can use it to add on top and on bottom in a way that adds like layers to the sound. Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, literally adding reverb layers. Cool. Well, that's Shimmer.
Yeah, that's Shimmer for you. That one could be a very deep well. That could be a good 4 hours you could spend probably sitting and playing with that. And even then, I'm sure the combinations are limitless.
So we're going to move to Magneto. So what the Magneto is, a multi-head echo with all the heads on, and the pre-delay knob is going to add feedback, and the diffusion parameter adds a new dimension of ambience. And I literally just read that from the Strymon website.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's a very cool sound. So
that's cool.
Really cool. It's got like a slapback almost, right? I mean, and this is with the diffusion in the low end, not adjusted at all, right in the middle, not lower nor higher. So that's parameter 1 and 2. So with our tone at 50%.
So if you turn up the pre-delay, can you move the pre-delay to say 50?
With decay and mix also at 50.
Yeah, it's going to bring up the feedback of the delay. That's a cool one. There's really not much to say about it. It kind of is what it is.
Yeah, that one.
It's cool.
Yeah, truly a cool sound, and allows you to really almost like dip into, again, that like slapback territory without having to have a delay pedal on.
Mm-hmm. We're going to go to the next guy, and that's going to be the non-linear one, which is also pretty self-explanatory. So it's going to offer you 3 different kinds of backwards reverse shapes. It's going to give you a swoosh, reverse, and a ramp, or you can get a gated verb, which we all know is fucking badass. You have feedback control, late reverb, and diffusion parameters. We're going to start on the swoosh reverb. I'm just going to give you guys a good slap and not play anything after, just so you can hear what the reverb actually is going to sound like. Cool.
Yeah, it's almost got
swoosh.
that sort of reverse
Yeah.
effect a little bit. You know, the
So now we're going to move from swoosh to reverse. Good old reverse. So the difference is it's just going to be the attack.
So the swoosh is essentially a reverse with a higher attack, right?
Yeah. This kind of, builds up into it versus the swooshes.
That's pretty groovy.
Cool.
I like that one.
Yeah. So we're going to move to the rampa. Cool.
I like that one.
Yeah.
These are all
Non-linear
very
is,
cool.
is pretty.
Yeah, for sure. And just weird enough for me.
So we're going to go to reflections now. Oh, shit. Never mind. We're going to go to gate. I forgot about gate.
Yeah, we have gate, goss, and bounce.
Mm.
So first one we're on is gate.
Now we're going to move to Gus.
How would you describe that one?
I
If you
think that
could.
it opens up. The attack is a little more gradual versus the other one. It almost blooms. There you go.
And the final one
The
is
bounce.
bounce.
Cool. That's something you could groove to.
Totally. I think if you could sync it with your rhythm, it'd be even more badass too.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Now we're going to hit the reflection, right?
Yes, we are, Mr. Austin Asvanonia.
And this one is just going to emulate what Strymon thinks it would sound like to reamp your guitar into a room.
So parameter 1 on this setting is going to allow you to adjust the low end just as it has before. And parameter 2 is going to allow you to play with the positioning of the amp in the room, so to speak. So it'll be sort of far away versus very close. We're going to leave it in the middle for now, and I'll adjust it as we go. We're also going to leave the low end unadjusted. Mod 0 still. Pre-delay 0 still. Decay, mix, and tone, of course, 50%.
All right, so let's move the amp farther away, and then we'll move on to the next guy.
So just there on the trail, I switched it all the way over to the other side. So now you're going to hear if the amp were to be as close as you could put it. Sweet. So you guys get the idea of that. It's a nice sounding reverb, but it is supposed to sound very natural. So it's not supposed to be anything more than a subtle touch.
Yeah. I imagine they would think that you would use that maybe more in a DI setting. If you're trying to get a sound of...
Makes a lot of sense.
What they would think a room. And speaking of rooms, we're going to move to the room setting.
And that's going to be our final for you guys on this beautiful StompBox. So parameter 1 on this one's going to allow you to adjust the low end as it has before. And parameter 2 is going to allow you to select the size or the space in which you are technically in with this reverb. Parameter 2 right now is set on studio, so you're going to get an idea of what a studio room would sound like. This is what Austin was just playing on, just so you guys know as well.
All right, now we're going to go to the club size. And that's it. Those are just the two different kind of rooms you can choose from.
Very simple, very straightforward as a room reverb is. You may want to use this in the case that you're not actually in that room you'd like to be in, right?
And, you know, I think that wraps up the Big Sky. We really just looked at a giant and then just described the giant's toenail.
I agree.
In the grossest way of explaining this pedal. I'm sorry I just put that image in your guys' mind, but that's just what happened.
Yeah, so this pedal is a beast. And it took us that amount of time to just do the very basics, the very, bare minimum on the Big Sky. So it just gives you an idea of how crazy you can really get with this pedal, how diverse this pedal is, and how versatile,
Yeah.
You're
And there's
not
so
gonna
many...
get bored with it.
Yeah, definitely not going to get bored with it. There's a lot of MIDI functions you could do with this pedal. You can mess with these parameters for days, like Ian was saying. I've had it for 2 years. I've only used like 3 patches. This is the first time I've ever been into the Magneto section ever, So you guys were here to witness the first ever playthrough of that for me. And I'm sorry you had to hear that.
That's funny. I don't own one myself, but just having a chance to review it and check it out. And, I've heard Austin play with it now for a couple months. It's worth the investment.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, so if you were considering to get this pedal and you made it this far in the podcast...
You're pretty into it.
Yeah, and let us know what you find with it. If you go and get it and you play it, or you own one and you want to let us know how it is playing your Big Sky, send us a video, post a video, tag us, email it to us. Any way you guys possibly want to. We'd love to connect, and we'd love to hear what you have to say about the Big Sky. And remember the question of the day.
Is OH or O
Or O.
or O?
Or like, ooh.
Or all of the above.
Yeah. Let us know. And if you know the official answer, send us a recording of you saying it. Post a video of you going through any of those vocal settings on the choral setting and you making those mouth shapes. As always, we greatly appreciate you guys tuning into our podcast. It's been a blast thus far. Can't believe we even made it to episode 4. But it's been a joy, and it's been a lot of fun, and it's been educational for us. So we hope it has been for you guys.
I'd say the same. I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as we are.
Yeah,
And you know, we're learning as we go. I played the wrong lick for 30 minutes, but you know, it worked out. It was great.
Yes, it. If you were ever wondering, we'll clear it up for you. It takes a while to get comfortable podcasting and knowing what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah,
because it's not a given. And even though you can look at other people and say there's a formula, there isn't a formula for your podcast because it's never been done before.
Yeah, it's kind of
so
like
look at somebody else's and say that seems like the right choice, but it might not be the right choice for you guys. So
it's kind of like we're having a conversation with somebody that's not here.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
It's like you and I are having a conversation with a third person who's not in the room, and that person's really bad at communicating themselves. So we're having to guess at all their needs and wants in the relationship.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, you know? So, just to give you guys a little insight, if you're ever thinking of doing a podcast yourself, do it.
It's fun.
It's fun. You can do it too, for sure. It's possible.
Yeah. And on that note, my name is Austin.
And my name's Ian. And thank you for tuning into the StompBox situation.